Hello and welcome to OROMIA11 Youth Discussion. As you know, we are in September, a time for students to say goodbye to the summer fun and get back to school. Whether that is elementary, middle school, high school, college, or university, it is really important to know and have access to all the resources that are offered at your school. On today's youth discussion, we are going to talk about one of the resources that are offered here at University of Minnesota, CLA Career Service. To help us understand more about CLA Career Service, here with me I have John. Thank you, John, for joining me today. Could you please introduce yourself to our audience and also tell us more a little bit about your role here?
Okay, yes. My name is John Wetzel, and I'm a career coach here at the University of Minnesota College of Liberal Arts. I'm starting my 12th year. It's kind of a unique situation because I'm doing this after I've, quote-unquote, retired from my corporate career, okay? So I got my PhD in industrial organizational psychology here a number of years ago, and then worked in the corporate sector, but came back to kind of the love of my life, working with students who are trying to decide what they want to do moving forward.
That is a great sector to be in, helping students. That's a very good. Thank you for that. What services does CLA offer, and how can students have access to them?
We offer a number of courses. One I was just talking about earlier today with someone that was approved by the Board of Regents 2 years ago. So anyone who is a freshman, comes in as a freshman, in their second year they take the Career Kickstarter course. It's a one credit course, and it helps them. There's some assessment instruments that they take. They work on a resume, they do some networking, there's some interviewing that they have practice, and there's even some discussion about going on to graduate school. There are a number of other courses that we have for people who are actually doing an internship. They can get credit for that. And then we have a course for juniors and seniors, and the title of that course, and I always have to, career planning. Preparing for your post-graduation plans. So that's an optional course. The very first one, the Career Kickstarter course, is for all sophomores.
Okay, how can a student explore career option and choose a major that aligns with their interest and skills? How can this career planning class help them?
So we have a number of assessment instruments that are available. I think the first step is to meet with a career coach, okay? And those appointments can be scheduled online, or they can come into our office, or it can be done by phone. Usually the first appointment is a half an hour, and we can schedule follow-up appointments if we need more than that. As I said, there are some assessment instruments that students can take to identify their interests, their skills, their abilities, and then we've got some other program materials. We've got a couple of prompts here. Our Career Readiness Guide, which talks about the interview process and everything up through to negotiating job offers and graduate school. And then the Internship Guide, because there are so many employers right now who could care less where you went to school, what your major was, what your GPA was, but they want to know how many internships you've had. So that is key for an awful lot of employers, and hence a lot of students. So.
All right. What are some effective strategies for building a professional network, and how can students start on that?
I start with having people think about student organizations and networking here on campus, spending time with professors before and after class to get a better idea of how that program could be used, or that subject matter could be used in a career. I talk about 8 different kinds of experiences that people can have while they're here at the university. One is internships, the next one is research, the next one is leadership at student clubs and organizations, volunteer experience, work experience, entrepreneurial experience, and the entrepreneurial experience is the dog walking service, the nanny service, the yard maintenance service, the music lesson service, what have you, anything that a student is doing directly for a customer or client and getting paid directly. The 7th one is project experience. So there are a number of projects that students will be working on throughout their time here at the university, and that might include the capstone project that they would do in their last year. And the eighth one is study abroad, okay? And then, and when I'm meeting with international students, of course, there's a flip on that because they are actually studying abroad here. And I do have an opportunity to work with an awful lot of international students.
How do international students, how does that work for them, like studying abroad, the eighth one? How does that work for international students?
Not as frequently as it does for domestic students, because the international students are already studying abroad here, okay? Mm-hmm. So the experiences that a U.S. citizen would get abroad is what an international student is getting here, okay? So they're looking for internships, they're doing volunteer opportunities, those 8 different kinds of experiences that I mentioned.
All right. You mentioned about internship. Can you also discuss the importance of internship and experience learning, the experience that comes through learning that, and how can that lead to a more professional job?
I think one of the values of an internship is that it is kind of a testing ground. Is this really what I want to do? We're trying something out. Students usually don't get an internship until their sophomore year. I know some students who've gotten them either probably the summer between their freshman and sophomore year, but most of internships are going to be summer between sophomore and junior year, and then definitely between junior and senior, because sometimes those internships lead to full job offers. But getting back to your main question about what's the value of an internship, it is really to determine, is this really kind of what I want to do? Do I want to be working? When I'm asking students about their ideal internship or their first job upon graduation, I ask 5 questions. Geographically, where do you want to be? What sector or sectors do you want to be in? And the sectors are government, nonprofit, education, entrepreneurial, and corporate. Third question is what size organization do you want to be a part of? Anywhere from 5 employers to a quarter of a million. Most students say, I don't have a preference on the size. The fourth question is what function do you want to perform? And those are the functions that are found in most large corporations. Finance, legal, HR, sales, marketing, operations, IT, distribution, what have you. And then the last question is, at what level do you want the position to be? And the typical 22-year-old college grad is going to say entry level, but it could be somebody wants to start a business, so they're going to say senior level, but they're an N of 1. They're the only employee of that organization that they're going to start. So the reason I ask those 5 questions is that 65 to 80% of all jobs, whether you're a 16-year-old looking for a part-time job in high school or a 60-year-old who wants to have one more last job before retiring, 65 to 80% of jobs come from people you know and people they know and people they know. So you have to be promoting yourself. I don't know if you're familiar with the term sandwich board. Okay, sandwich board is a large poster that you wear on your front and when you put on your back, and oftentimes it's used to advertise restaurants or car washes for students that are trying to raise money. So I talk about you need to be wearing this sandwich board. You need to be promoting yourself. And with those 5 questions, you kind of do it in a reverse order by saying, I'm looking for an entry-level finance position in a mid-size corporate setting or a government setting in the Twin Cities. So that is what I'm looking for, and that is what I'm hoping to find. And whether that, again, is the internship or the job.
I remember having a discussion with you on this, and you asked me all these 5 questions. I'm like, I don't know yet.
Right, exactly. And that's the advantage, I think, of having a meeting with CLA Career Services early in your career rather than waiting until 6 months after you've graduated. And, the experiences that you've had might have been quite limited because you didn't explore these various other alternatives.
Sure.
So, the early bird gets the worm. I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, but okay. So start something early. Start your job search early. Not, don't wait until your junior or senior year. Think about it, whether it's the first year experience course, whether it is in CLA, the Career Kickstarter 3002, whether it's jobs, internships, volunteer opportunities, the things we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, these are good to put on your resume. How can a student create a strong resume and also cover letter? And what are some common mistakes to avoid?
Okay, I think one of the first mistakes is people applying for positions not including a cover letter. Okay, and I know that it's very, very simple to just upload your resume to a site. Okay, what I encourage people to do, let's say that there are 50 people who apply for a job. 48 of them send a resume. 2 of them send a resume and a cover letter. Who do you think is going to be looked at first?
The 2 cover letters.
Why?
And they put in more effort, I think?
Exactly. If they put in more effort in the job search process, they probably will put in more effort in the job itself. So the little bit of extra gets people's attention. Okay. So the importance of a cover letter. Okay. In terms of the resume, we have wonderful examples here in our career readiness guide and online, clacareer.umn.edu. There's all kinds of resumes for different, for first-year students, graduating students, students who've had military experience, students who are, quote-unquote, longer in tooth. They're starting their college career at age 35 as opposed to 18. So each of those would be helpful. And then it's working with any of our career coaches, or we also have our peer coaches. These are students who are here and helping students start with resumes and maybe doing some tweaking with resumes. So it depends on whether you are starting from scratch or you need some refinement of your resume. But in order to get the job that you want in your career, you have to have a resume. So, and that's an important part of, obviously, all of the courses that we teach, but then also the meetings that we have with our students.
Yeah, there are some jobs that ask for cover letter, or some jobs that ask for just a resume, not cover letter. So what's your suggestion? Like if it asks for a resume, do you also send your cover letter too, or?
Excellent question. Excellent question. Yes. So again, most applications have you upload your resume. So if there is a spot for a resume and a spot to upload a cover letter, then that's fine. If there's only one spot, the resume is on top and the cover letter is the second page, which is backwards because it was called a cover letter to be put on top of a resume before the resume and cover letter were folded and put in an envelope and sent through the postal service. Nobody applies for jobs like that anymore. Okay, everything is uploaded. Okay, so the reason you want to have the resume on top and the cover letter below is that the human eyes of the recruiter or the applicant tracking system are expecting to see a resume. And if they see something other than a resume, they'll completely ignore it. So take full advantage of what you have. Resume first, cover letter second, unless there are 2 spots to upload separately.
Wow.
So even if there is no mention of a cover letter in the application, all they want you to do is upload your resume. This goes back to the question about the 50 people. Remember, 48 of them sent their resume. They did what they were supposed to do. 2 people went above and beyond. Okay? So people are always looking for people who will do above and beyond.
Yes, they are. And what are some tips for acing interview, and how can a student best prepare for that?
Oh, I think one of the key things is to have a better understanding of who you are and why you're interested in a position. When I'm meeting with students, I talk about the 3 sets of 5. Okay, so this first set of 5 are the 5 steps in the interview process. Okay, so you're going to be asked the question, you have to pause and what have you. The second set of 5 would be the typical questions you're going to be asked in an interview. Tell me about yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Why you're interested in this position? Why should we hire you? Okay. And then the third set is the questions that you, the interviewee, should ask the interviewer. Okay? So oftentimes, the interviewer, at the end of the interview, will say, do you have any questions of me? And some people will say, no, you've answered them all, which may be true, but the interviewer is saying, I'm really not interested in this person because this person doesn't have any questions of me. So the 5 questions that I encourage people to think about are, what is the next step? What's the timing of the next step? Who's going to take the next step? Do I have to hear from you, or should I reach out to you? What would things look like in 3 months for you to say that you hired the right person? Because that's giving me some idea of what the expectations are. And then the last one is, yes, why are you interested in me for this position? So why are you interested in me for this position? What would things look like in 3 months? What are the next steps, the timing of the next step, and who's going to take the next steps? So, a little
If
backwards.
you do all this right, then you might get the job.
Hopefully, because it's really talking about preparation and interest. The other thing that I really want to stress, and this comes up not infrequently, where somebody accepts an offer and they're still looking for another position, whether it's an internship or a job, and then they get a second offer, and now they're trying to decide, and it's not a good idea to renege on the offer you accepted. Because this is a fairly small community, and employers will talk to one another. Don't talk to this Wetzel guy. You know, he's crazy. He says one thing and does something else. I think in the entire time I've been doing this, and then doing it with corporate executives in my previous life, I know of 2 people who actually rescinded an offer, and it fortunately worked out for both of them. But usually that's not the case.
Yeah, one of the things that we see on application right currently is that they ask for a desired salary. I'm like, here, what do I put? Like, what's your advice for someone who's applying for a job and it asks, what's the desired salary?
Okay.
How do you tackle that?
So if it's part of the application, you can't avoid it. You're going to have to put something. And what I encourage people to do is to go to salary.com or some other kind of sites that will provide information about salary ranges for certain kinds of positions. The other thing is to use whatever network you have to see if anybody in your network has some ideas about that salary. These could be people who are in that same type of position, maybe the same industry, government, nonprofit, education, whatever, or even the same kind of role. Okay, it might be not, they have a role not in the company for which you are applying, but yeah, they're kind of similar companies, and yeah, this is what we're offering at my company where I am. So maybe the one where you're applying will be somewhat similar. That's a good starting point. In the interview, if it comes up, you try to push it aside. You know, I like to discuss that when we are further along. What are some other questions that you have of me about my candidacy for this position?
That's a smart way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you want to avoid it because once you come up with a number, if it's too low, then that's what you're going to get, even though they were willing to pay more. If it's too high, they might not consider you because they think it's too high, and they haven't learned enough about you to realize that you deserve more. So that's why you want to delay the salary question as long as you possibly can.
Thank you. That's a very good advice. How does the CLA Career Service support students who are planning to go graduate school or a professional program?
Excellent question. We have a full set of materials that we would love to share with students. We got handouts, and there's even a little bit of information in this booklet. But the earlier that people start thinking about graduate school, the more we can provide assistance for them. So we have information about, one of my favorite ones is a series of questions regarding should I go to graduate school? Weak answers, strong answers. When should I go? Should I go immediately following the undergrad? Should I do a gap year? Okay. What are the factors that I should be looking at when it comes to graduate programs? It could be the geography, it could be the size of the school, it could be, even for psychologists, will I be licensed as a therapist, or licensed as a PsyD, doctor of psychology, which is different from a PhD in psychology. So one is more using and one is more the academic piece. And then we've got information about the application process and all the steps you have to go through for graduate school, the interview, gap year, okay? So I'm going to wait a year. There are students who really want to do well academically, and they don't want to be interrupted by filling out the application, because the graduate school process takes anywhere from 12 to 15 months as you start thinking about, do I want to go, yes or no, where do I want to go? And then you start filling out kind of information. And in the graduate program, you've got 5 things. You've got your transcript, so you want to have good grades. You need to have your transcript and your resume or CV. More schools now after COVID are again requiring the graduate record exam or some other standardized test for medical school, law school, what have you. Much like the ACT or SAT for undergrads. Letters of recommendation. Okay, that's something that you need to give some consideration to, because most graduate programs require 3 letters of recommendation, and at least 2 of them have to be from people who have observed you in an academic setting. And then the last one is the personal statements. And you're applying to 8 schools. There's 8 personal statements minimum, and then there might be some special personal statements like extenuating circumstances. Okay, I was in an automobile accident and my grades suffered, so I've got a short statement that can explain that. If this school doesn't have that extenuating circumstance personal statement, then I have to put it in my general personal statement. And then the third personal statement, the second special one, is for underrepresented population, first generation students, what have you, so that they might be able to explain their situation as it relates to the application. And again, if there's not one of these, then that's part of your general introduction. But that's why we like people to start at least thinking about graduate school, maybe sophomore year. I have students who come in first few weeks of their freshman year and talk about going to graduate school, which is great, okay? I myself didn't think about it until probably my second year, and then it was a question, was it law school or psychology? Which one do I want to do, okay? And fortunately, I did psychology rather than law, because no, I won't say it.
It's fine, you can say it.
I was going to say, there are too many lawyers in the world anyway, so, okay.
They are.
And I come from a family that has tons and tons of lawyers and only 3 psychologists, okay? So.
All right, can you please discuss the role of LinkedIn and other social media platform in career development and job searching process?
Yes, there are, people are always looking for opportunities for internships, part-time jobs, career jobs upon graduation. And where do I apply for them? But also, which ones are already being advertised, okay? So I stress 4 different sites for students: Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed, and employment.umn.edu. Now the first 3, Handshake, LinkedIn, and Indeed, allow you to upload your resume, okay? And the beauty of that is that there are what I call savvy employers. Savvy employers are the ones who realize once they post a job, they're oftentimes inundated by people who are not qualified. So they will go to look to see whose resumes are uploaded on LinkedIn, Indeed, Handshake, or what have you. Now you, as a job seeker or internship seeker, want to play both ends against the middle. You want to upload your resume so that those savvy employers will see you, But you also want to apply for the positions that are posted by the not so savvy employers or the savvy employers who didn't see you the first time around. Okay. Now, employment.umn.edu doesn't allow you to upload your resume, so you're going to have to do that kind of search. But the other thing when you're looking at Handshake, LinkedIn, Indeed is you can be looking at other people's uploaded resumes that are maybe similar to yours to see how you can tweak yours to make it more attractive. Okay, so this is my competition, and this person is talking about this, and I haven't included this in my resume, so I better do that.
Is there any last minute advice, any advice that you have for students who are off campus or in campus?
Yes, a number of things. One is to take full advantage of our services. Okay, we provide services to CLA students up to a year after they've graduated. And I mentioned earlier that some people are coming in for the very first time, 6 months, 9 months, 11 months, and 29 days after they have graduated. The other thing is that we are in Brunix Hall, which I say is the sexiest building on campus. If we were to turn the camera, you can see the wonderful space we have. And this space is available for students to use during the hours that our office is open, from 9 until 4, Monday through Friday. I also want students to think about accessing the online resources that we have in addition to meeting with our staff. So clacareer.umn.edu, it's just tons and tons of information about resumes, cover letters, graduate school, declining job offers, deciding which opportunities and majors to be looking at, what are some of the pluses and minuses of various majors, BA versus a BS, obviously. There are a number of courses that CLA offers that are primarily BAs because they have the language requirement, okay? And then someplace else, like in College of Science and Engineering, the computer science degree is BS, doesn't have the language requirement. Psychology, we have both the BA and the BS, okay? So does a person want to deal with the language? Then they take the BA. If they don't want the language, they take the BS. The training is still going to prepare you for whatever that career is. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Did I get off the topic too much on that one?
No.
Okay,
That's
okay,
fine.
okay.
It's a last minute advice, so you can say whatever that's fine.
Okay. No, I think the very last word is do not hesitate to reach out. Whether you are taking a class that is part of the CLA Career Services curriculum, or whether you are looking for a place to study, or you have some questions about resumes, interviews, networking, job search process, graduate school, we're welcoming here.
All right. Thank you, John, for sharing a valuable insight into what the CLA Career Service offers here at University of Minnesota. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
We hope you have found this information helpful and encouraging as you get back to your studies. Thank you for joining. Have a great time.